Welcome back to another episode of Free the Plant, Free the People. I'm your host, LeVar Eady, and you know this podcast is presented by BluRok Farms. Also, we are sponsored by LiveWell, which you can get your discount on your cannabis card today by using the code BluRok Farm 10. And for the New Mexico residents, you can get even more of a discount using my code as well. But that's specifically for the New Mexico residents. The BluRok Farm 10 is for nationwide. So we have another great episode today. I'm very, very excited about. I won't get into the topic yet, but we do have a guest, as you can see to my right, your left. We have a special guest that we're going to be diving into a topic and getting in really like the deep discussion about a niche topic in cannabis. If you know, you know. If you don't, you're going to learn today. So today's topic is going to be cannabis and hash. And we have Ryan, who was our guest.
Yeah.
Hash Life, there we go. He is the owner and founder of Chilled Hydro Alchemy. As you can tell by the name, Chilled Hydro, that's why he's a special guest today for this topic of hash. For some people that might not know, hash is a byproduct of cannabis and it's been around for thousands of years, as you were stating earlier.
4,000 years BCE is what the records kind of show, but could even be longer. It's been used ceremoniously for a long time.
Exactly. And the origins start in Northern Africa, Middle East, and India is the origins of hash. And like as I mentioned, hash is a byproduct of cannabis, so you can't get hash without cannabis. So it's important to keep that in mind. And the other connection that I wanted to talk about real quick before we get into learning more about Ryan and the great things that he's doing with his company. When I was getting into the cannabis space, specifically getting into understanding more about hash, and we'll talk about Frenchy Cannoli a little bit later, he was really my introduction into really understanding hash at a deeper level.
Same.
But when I was getting into that knowledge of hash, I would always hear Morocco hash. And when we just talked about the history of it, Morocco is part of Northern Africa, which explains, the origin of what I stated was in Northern Africa, Middle East, and India. Why Morocco is known for their hash because they were one of the originators of it. Which I believe now Morocco is considered the hash mecca because of the amount as well as the quality that they produce there. We'll get into more of the different types of hash and stuff like that a little bit later, and then the actual process of creating and making hash. But let's get to know our guest, Ryan. So, Ryan, you started Chilled Hydro Alchemy. But even before that, let's talk about your journey into cannabis. Like, how did that start? And then we'll get into how you branched into this niche topic of hash.
Okay. Well, it all starts, it goes way back, all the way back to, a young age. I don't know if I should say, but a minor, young age. And just got me a little dime bag of some Mexican brick. That was a lot of stems and seeds in there, made up most of it. And we didn't know better at the time. You don't smoke that part.
Yeah.
And so kind of slowly worked my way into it. But by high school, I was a pro. And just from there, I think by that point in high school, it was just an established love in my life. Like,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha. And then how did that love for cannabis then transition into hash and hash making?
Okay.
Because it is a specific niche that I keep on saying, but a lot of people find it interesting and some people don't. So it's interesting to find the people that really dive into it. And as you can see by all the stuff here, you've dived deep into it.
Oh,
so,
yeah, most definitely. Well, now we jump in the time machine and we fast forward up until my 40s when the rec thing started popping off and my family got licensed to have a farm, licensed grow.
Gotcha.
And so from there, everybody has flower. Where do you take it from there? And a lot of people are doing rosin, but they're jumping over the old school hash aspect of it.
Yep.
So we saw that as an opportunity to, maybe get that little niche in the market. And also to give the old timers more something that they've been craving. Because a lot of the market, it's flashy bang bang. It's for the younger crowd, I think, a lot.
Yeah.
And these old timers, they want some of that traditional stuff that they enjoyed in their youth.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Which we'll get into a little bit later, of why some of the old school people prefer hash over the new school hybrid flour and rosin, resin, batter, shatter, all
All
the
of
different
it,
types
yeah.
of extraction processes that are currently out there. But I like the fact that you were looking at your company and your family's company and seeing ways to provide a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And that's something that we talk a lot about on the show, of ways to separate yourself from other companies to give yourself a competitive advantage. But not only does that competitive advantage add to you maintaining and being profitable and sustainable, it also helps you push off those larger MSO companies that are trying to come into New Mexico and crush the market, because you're offering something that they don't. And even if they do, it's usually not going to be at the same level, because they don't have the
Quality,
same attention and attention to detail that real hash makers
Small
tend to have
batch,
to,
yeah, it's small batch.
So I just find that super interesting that you guys had that foresight to say we need to separate ourselves, and this is the route that we wanted to go into. How did you kind of start to educate yourself into that process of making hash? Because again, it's the techniques have been out there for thousands of years, but we see this generation moving away from older techniques in favor of new techniques. Not to say that either one is better or worse; they're just different.
Yeah.
But how did that learning process go for you?
Well, for us, it was kind of, again, with the family business, had some old timers involved who, wanted to bring hash back. And from that aspect, we tried a couple different ways, but really, once we found Frenchie, that unlocked the doors for us. And, it was kind of a necessity having outdoor flower. We're living soil, fully organic, outdoor flower, but that's not what the market's about nowadays, because it doesn't have that pretty look or whatever,
The bag appeal,
Yeah, the bag appeal. And as I like to say, you're not going to rub it in your eyes to get high.
Exactly.
So, but
Exactly.
so we didn't have that bag appeal, it being outdoor flower, but the terps were there, the potency was there, everything was on point. So we wanted to take that and kind of exemplify that and showcase that's what the outdoor living soil was bringing to the game, was the terp game.
Yeah.
And
that's important, and I think it also speaks to the quality of flower that you guys are producing, and also it shows your attentiveness to just the process of cultivating, because you're seeing, like you said, oh well, we do have a lot of terpenes here. It might not, like you said, not have the bag appeal, but you open that jar, you open that bag.
They got the nose appeal.
Yeah, exactly. So
punch you in the face. Yeah,
exactly, punch you in the face, give you that sensory overload that you want when you're determining what flower you want. But those same qualities also helps when identifying good flower to extract.
Most definitely.
And so that, I think, is important to add to the aspect of what you guys are doing. Can you talk a little bit about how you discovered Frenchy Cannoli and some of the work that he kind of illuminated it to you that helped speed that process for you guys?
Yeah, so basically it was just in researching hash and the different types, because there are people that do hash, and there's a lot of the Moroccan style pressed hash out there, the kind of powdery stuff. But we, again, wanted something different to set us above, not a gimmick, if you will, but a different product. And so from there, in researching that's where we found Frenchy Cannoli. And just, I mean, he's the man. If you don't know Frenchy Cannoli, he's like a guru, and just listening to him, I wish I'd have got a chance to meet him, but he's just spiritual, and just everything about him just attracted us to the way he does things. And so that was it from there. Just follow what Frenchy does and you'll be successful, because his whole ideal is the purity, the trueness to the plant, to the, the medicine of it. And, staying as organic as possible. We're just using water and ice.
Yeah.
And that's it. I even myself, I'm really old school. I don't use machinery. I use the hand paddle.
Hand paddle, yeah.
Old school, small batch. I'm not out there making huge amounts, but what I am making is guaranteed quality, purity. And in that, like you mentioned before, in a perfect world, I would only wash for living soil grows for that reason. But you could get quality hash from other grows. But yeah, I would most definitely prefer living soil grows,
Yeah.
just for the terps that you get from them and the quality of it.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Like I was saying, sun grown, you tend to get more terpenes and different type of terpenes because of the added UVB and UVA from the sun that you necessarily don't get from certain indoor lights.
And then even cover crops, depending on what cover crop you use, can affect the terpenes differently.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
its
factors.
expression and as well as its nutrient uptake, which is going to allow
Definitely.
for different cannabinoids to be manufactured. from
And
the
that nutrient uptake when you're doing living soil, I mean, it's just there in abundance always, regenerating and creating its own nutrients.
Yeah, and it's giving. The great thing about living soil is you can't um, oh my gosh, you can't get nutrient lock because the soil, like as you said, it's producing the microbes in the soil also are breaking down the nutrients at a rate that the plant can absorb it. Um, so it's all balanced in that regard. The microbes-
Symbiosis.
exactly, creating that ecosystem inside the beds with the plants and the microbes in there, creating a perfect ecosystem
Yeah, yeah.
to allow for the uptake of nutrients when it needs it, not uptaking nutrients when it doesn't need it, and it never the plant in those situations, if you're doing living soil properly, the plant's never at a point of want.
Yeah.
Anytime it wants something, it has it.
It just is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There and is deliverable and available. And that's not always the case in indoor situations. That's not using living soil. Which, yeah, I think that's all, super interesting. And then, like you said, the connection with Frenchy Cannoli, I definitely agree with you. I was lucky enough to meet him twice, actually. I met him once at I think it was an Emerald Cup, and then there was another event that I met him where Dank Duchess was teaching a class, and he just happened to pop in.
Oh, wow.
It was just like
Lucky day.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just happened. It was like she was teaching the class. She's a disciple of Frenchy Cannoli, and if you don't know Dank Duchess, you should definitely check her out.
Yeah.
She's, I would say, Frenchy is number one. She's definitely in the top 5.
Most definitely.
And R.I.P. to Frenchy Cannoli. He did pass
R.I.P..
away, but his spirit lives on in the work that and
Most
his teaching
definitely.
still lives on.
Most definitely.
And a big shout out to his wife.
Yeah.
Lifelong partner. So
Yeah. She's
you know,
still out there doing it. Her and
Exactly.
Bella, they're keeping his tradition alive. And
Yeah,
it's
carrying it
awesome to
forward.
see. Yeah.
So it's really great to see that aspect. Now, this is the part I've been waiting for. We're getting
Alright.
into the deep talk about hash, bubble hash, temple ball hash, and the specifics of it. Just a quick breakdown of there's kind of 3 different types of hash: hand rubbed hash, ice water hash, and then dry sieve hash. We'll get into those different types of hash in a little bit, but I want to go into the process that all hash has. There's basically 4 steps. The first step is collection. You're collecting the resins, the trichome heads from the flower. The second step is the purification, separating those trichome heads and those resins and the glands from the plant material. The third spot is forming that hash so that it's collectible and able to be used. And then the last step is the curing process. Make sure that it's properly dried, properly moistened, so that you get, so then it's able to be used in whatever form you want to use it in. If it's using it in cooking, if it's using it smoking with a pipe, dab rig, whatever, or if it's putting it in a blunt and adding it as a blood enhancer or a joint enhancer. That's another form of it as well. But you need all 4 of those steps: collecting, purification, forming, and curing to have a um, proper hash.
Yeah, proper hash.
What is it about Temple Ball hash that you kind of prefer over just ice water bubble hash?
I think what I like most about it is just the richness that you get from it. You know, it converts a lot of THCA into THC, making it more psychoactive. It converts CBGs into CBGAs, CBVs, CBDs, a lot of different things. So it brings out all these extra components of cannabinoids that you wouldn't get from just bubble hash
Yep.
by doing the hot bottle tech. You know, it does a decarboxylating, and in that sense, you could straight up eat Temple Ball hash. There's an old culture called the hash eaters.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so yeah, I really enjoy that aspect of it. The fact that it's the only form of cannabis that I know of that gets better over time, more potent over time. Everything else loses potency, you know, as it oxidizes, exposed to light, whatever, naturally. It
Yep.
just happens. But Temple Balls get better and more potent over time.
Yep. And that's the one of the reasons why I fell in love with it as well is because of that aspect of, and the way that works for the audience is by creating that ball, the outer surface of the ball protects the inner surface of the ball from degradation, oxidation, from light, oxygen, being exposed to the elements, all that.
It
That
keeps
outer
a certain
layer
amount of moisture in there.
and moisture as well. Moisture and helps it from drying out, taking in extra moisture. That outside barrier basically is like a protective shell that protects the hash on the inside. So that is a good point.
Get a zoom in shot.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's one of the things. It does increase potency. They're going to be higher THC potency because again, you're getting rid of that plant material, and it's all trichomes, all
isolated,
cannabinoids,
yeah.
isolated, but it's full spectrum.
Full spectrum.
Versus a distillate or isolate that can have some cannabinoids removed. The other aspect of it is, as you stated, because of that curing process and the protection of that outer layer, causing the inner layer to be protected, it allows for the terpenes and aroma to kind of explode.
It
as
preserves
well.
it inside,
Yeah.
you know, in a little nice little cocoon.
Yep, exactly. And then, like you said, the hot tech
Hot bottle tech.
hot bottle
yeah.
tech that Frenchie really expresses, and it does make a difference by not doing that and then doing that with your temple ball. So for those out there, definitely look that information up and use that method to really make sure. And Frenchie Cannoli's way has been proven and is repeatable. So that's really important, especially if you are out there that are looking to start businesses and have this niche. You need to have something that's provable and repeatable. Because if your customers like the product, but you can't reproduce it,
Then, yeah.
you don't have a business.
One trick pony.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's important to have. As you stated, the longevity of the Temple Ball hash is longer than any flower than you can think of. Because
It's the wine of cannabis, you know.
Yeah.
It just gets better.
Exactly.
And richer and more aromatic.
That's a
and,
great. That's a great analogy. Is the wine of cannabis.
Yeah.
With age, it gets better.
And same with wine, it's a terpene thing.
Yep.
You know.
That
Same
it
deal.
really expresses it.
Yeah.
That really is what amplifies your experience. The other aspect of Temple Ball hash that I really enjoy is the versatility of it. Like I said, you can use it in a pipe. You can put it in a blunt. You can put it in a joint. You can put it in an edible. You can eat it if you want to.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to
Partake.
and use
Yeah.
that is really really important to have. Let's dive into bubble hash a little bit, ice water hash, because I wanted to touch on one of the facts that you said was that you don't use a machine, and you can use a machine. Which
Of course, you can.
Is,
and there's nothing wrong with it.
What I will say in regards to the machine is too much agitation can degrade the quality of your hash.
Definitely.
And what it does is it causes more plant material to be entered into the water by that agitation. Really what you're trying to do with ice water hash, or really when you're doing bubble hash, is one, the ice is to bring the temperature down to kind of freeze the trichome heads.
It preserves the terpenes and the
Locks it
trichomes.
inside
Yeah,
the
yeah.
gland itself. One, it also stiffens the stalk of the trichome, so that with that you need less agitation to cause it to break, and leaving the ball or the gland intact, and then having that be suspended in the water.
Guy told me one time, I loved it, it'll stick with me forever. But when you're washing hash, think of it like T-ball with a big old ball on the top of a T, and you just want to knock that glob right off, you know?
Yep, that's the perfect
That's what you're
example. The
going
top
for.
of that ball is the gland. The stand of the T-ball is the trichome or the trichome head, or or stalk.
Stem,
Excuse me.
stalk, yeah.
And as you said, the freezing kind of keeps that stalk
It
in
makes
place.
it rigid, and yeah.
And then, as you said, the agitation, but you want the agitation to be light enough that, like you said, it just knocks that T-ball off the top, but not heavy enough where it's going to damage or break that trichome
Yeah.
head and cause the gland to be exposed, all the terpenes,
Yeah,
cannabinoids,
yeah.
flavonoids to be in
Lost,
the wash.
yeah.
The other aspect because we like to combine science and just traditional culture with this podcast, the science behind the agitation as well is, as we said, we're trying to preserve those trichome heads. And the other aspect of the science is cannabis is hydrophobic, excuse me.
Hydrophobic, yeah.
It doesn't like water. So that's why we can put it in the water solution and we don't have to worry about, and we can separate it still. So that's important to keep in mind. But
It's also lipophilic. That
yeah,
was the word I was
yeah,
looking here.
for fats.
But yeah, it attracts the fats and the oils and detracts the water, avoids the water. So yeah, and so basically you want the water cold to do like you said, to make things a little more rigid, preserve it in place, freeze it in time. And then the water is just a transferring process.
Exactly.
That's all it is. You're just using it to transfer to your bags where you sieve it. And where you're sieving it, think of it like panning for gold.
Yep.
And and you're left with gold literally at the end, your hash right there,
Yep. No, that's exactly that's exactly like you said. Is you're trying to preserve it with the cold, and then because of it being hydrophobic, it's going to just sit in the water. It's not going to combine with the water. If
And it's
hyd-
denser than water, so it
Exactly.
sinks to the bottom. Yeah.
And that makes it easier. And that's why you can use, like you said, mesh bags, bubble bags that have different microns, because it is going to settle to the bottom. You pull that up in the water, then you can extract the water out, which is important aspect of it. And like you said, in regards to the lipophilic aspect of it, that's what allows us to combine it in edibles. That's why you can put it in olive oil, because it is going to be absorbed into the fat. And that's really how it affects our bodies. When we smoke it or we eat it, it gets trapped in our fats, in the fat that we have in our bodies. And so if you work out, a lot and you have low body fat percentage, you'll get high because you're burning the fat in your body. The fat has THC in it, and you'll be high from working out.
And you'll be cleaner quicker afterwards.
Exactly, that too. So those are things to keep in mind of combining the science, and why understanding the science is important, because if you know those things, like we know now about the lipophilic and the hydrophobic aspect of it, we know why it works in the process that we're doing. And if we wanted to alter that process by any means, we know why it works, so that when we alter the process, we still get the results that we want.
The desired effects.
Exactly.
Yep.
So can you kind of go through your process of bubble hash and kind of what you use to identify the flower that you want to use for bubble hash,
Okay.
or making temple ball hash? Because you got to start with the ice water hash to get to the temple ball hash.
Oh yeah, yeah. It
So-
all starts with the water. Well, actually, it all starts with the plant.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
You want the proper genetics. You want it grown organically, preferably. And then from there, what you're looking for is, like I was saying earlier, the T-ball. You want long necks with big globular heads, and that's the best for washing. And so, if you want to check your own stuff, you can use a jar, and you take and put just a little bit of weed in there, maybe an eighth to a quarter, and some ice water, and you shake it up, and you'll see what you get, the separation. And sometimes there's really greasy strains, and that doesn't work so well for temple balls or bubble hash.
Sure. Yep.
But if you're like me and very extensive, there's ways of getting that grease off, and you could go through a bunch of different levels of refinement to still break it down so you're just left with what you want. But so yeah, after that point, after you've known that your shake test will work well, then you could bump it up. And so I just old school with the buckets, the bags. I run my 220 is my work bag because I do use the paddles, so I mix right in the buckets. And then a 160 is kind of like more for the edible grade. And then everything under that down to 45, which would be a 120, a 90, a 73, and then the 45. All that gets caught in the 45.
Yep.
And then from there, you take it, use a spoon, and you just scoop it off. And there's people do it a lot of different ways. My technique is, again, I have the jar full of ice water, and so I just scoop my spoons in there. But there's other people that have you lay it out with paper towels and a 25 micron screen, and you put it on there to try. The goal is, after you get it wet, to get it dry. And so you're trying to get all the moisture out after you've collected the trichome heads. And so from that point, again, I'm old school. The best way is a freeze dryer, of course, and I'm saving to get my freeze dryer back up. But in the meantime, I use what we call in the game pizza box tech.
Yep.
And it's just pizza boxes with paper towels in them, with parchment paper over it.
Yep.
And you just leave your stuff in there, your hash product. And I go as far as also to use the silica packets that you get in different products.
To pull out the moisture.
Yeah, I put those in there with it to wick out moisture. And that depends on if you have a curing room, it depends on humidity. Ideally, you want 60 to 70 Fahrenheit, and then you want 50 to 60 humidity is ideal. But a cool, dark space. Well, that's getting into temple ball. Now back to bubble hash. So now you're looking for a sandy texture. And once you have that texture, it's like sand. You'll break it up with your fingers, and it feels like sand. From there, now you can rock and roll on a temple ball. But at that point, you have Moroccan hash. Moroccan bubble hash, full spectrum, because you're not stripping anything from it. You're just means of conveyance using the water.
Yeah. And the only thing that you did extract was the plant material. Everything else is still...
Yeah, exactly. Separated it from the plant material. Yeah. And so after that, now comes the technique for temple balls. You've got your sand. I use turkey bags, and so it's a cellophane.
Yeah.
You put it in between the cellophane, and then I like to use the old school Boone's Farm wine bottle.
Yep.
And that's real nice, clear bottle. You could see through it, good shape. And you use 180 degrees to 190 to 200. It varies in there, but 180 to 200.
Definitely wouldn't go above 220.
No, because all you're looking to do is kind of release these oils, just do a real slight decarboxing of it. And real good hash product, the heat of your hands will do. That was the old school way. Chakras. I can never pronounce it. But yeah, they would just take the plant material, rub it in their hands, and the heat from their hands would be enough to decarboxylate it and get it going like that. But so yeah, you use your bottle, and you just like a rolling pin, you roll over it, you look through it, and you watch all those oils being released, and you apply slight pressure. You don't want to go crazy, and
you're not trying to make a pancake necessarily out of it or make it as thin as possible.
No.
You're, as you said, you're just really trying to apply a small, even, steady pressure.
Steady pressure. Yeah.
Over the time. So combined with that heat from the bottle, and because it's a glass bottle and it's hot, that heat transfers from the glass easily to the product. But again, because you have the turkey bag as a barrier, it also helps dissipate some of the heat coming from the bottle. So it provides a nice, perfect temperature to really, as you said, express those oils out, so that when you do eventually form your actual temple ball hash, all those oils have been expressed out, but conserved in the temple ball itself.
In the cocoon, yeah.
One of the things I wanted to bring up that you said is the hand hash, and that's exactly from my understanding is that's how hash was first kind of discovered. Is through people just having it in their hands, people trimming it and
That's
having it,
sticky icky.
and then they had it stuck on their fingers. And as you said, they would just go like this, roll it together.
We
and
still
then
do finger hash.
finger hash,
Yeah.
exactly.
If you're a
And,
trimmer,
yeah, and roll it together, and then you collect all your pieces, then roll that into a big piece, and there you go. And like you said, it's the heat from your hands, the heat from your body, 98.5, 98.6 degrees. For most people, is enough of that heat, especially when you have really good product too.
Oh, yeah.
It will, and that's the other thing that is important to note is the more that you do this and you do this process, you'll start to notice differences with different
an eye for it, yeah.
flower. And like you said, some greasy strains or cultivars, like Grease Monkey, is a greasy strain. That there are certain types of cultivars that are better for temple ball hash, shatter, live resin, rosin.
Yeah, most definitely.
And also, from a cultivator's perspective, because we always tie it back to cultivation, is there's also going to be a different harvesting time. Well, it doesn't have to be, but it should be if you're really, really refining and understanding your flower and the product that you're trying to create. Because earlier, if you harvest earlier, depending on the strain of cultivar, every cultivar is different. The trichome head tends to be more bulbous and glandular when you harvest it earlier.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily make it better for flower consumption, but it will make it better for extraction of products.
Hash
Temple
or
ball hash,
rosin, yeah.
resin.
And there's a lot of times too that a lot of people that come to me, they've had their product checked out for rosin, and they're like, it's too greasy, it's too greasy. But I'm still able to work it into some
but that's
good
because
stuff.
of your time and experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Putting
Yeah,
it in.
it takes time.
I would not recommend for somebody starting hash or temple balls to try to work with a greasy strain.
No.
I would say
it'll frustrate you.
yeah, it will frustrate you,
Yeah.
and you won't end up learning as much as you would have if you just went with a strain that you know is a good extraction.
And again, do your jar shake, and that's how
There you go.
you'll be able to tell.
Yeah, I really appreciate that trick because we
Yeah,
like to give
that's-
people
yeah.
tricks and tips to really help them refine their process and really get into more detailed aspects of it. But can you tell us a little bit about? We talked about using the bottle, and then how are you identifying when you feel is the time to start rolling it into the temple ball?
Okay, well, now that's the thing that kind of comes with experience,
experience,
and you just visually you could tell the aromas. I mean, the room smells amazing when you do this bottle tech, and you get your little flat, almost like a pancake out, and you keep folding it over on itself. Are you familiar with dimastic steel?
Yeah.
And so it's a lot similar to that, and you just keep folding it over on itself, rolling it out, fold it over. And you judge by what you think is best, but I usually run it at least 5 times like that, back on itself, and then I'll start doing the temple ball. And that in itself, it ain't just about forming a ball. Now you're wanting to put in work, and again, that heat from your hands, and that will continue to bring out the oils as you go, and you get the nice sheens coming on them, the shiny, real pretty glass-looking ball. I made some the other day for Goldfish Farms that it was just such good quality. After an hour, they
Just
blew,
down.
and it almost looked like a polished stone or something.
yep,
It was
yep.
beautiful looking.
Yep. Those are very good tips to keep in mind is looking at the color, looking at the feel, looking at the smell. And as you said, with time you'll realize, all right, this is about done.
Yeah,
This is
you
about
don't want to
done.
run it too much, overwork it, and just destroy all the trichomes in it, because
exactly.
that could happen too.
And that's why it's having a balance, and that's why it's important to really work on your expertise in a specific space, and I think that will take you really far.
Yeah.
Like I said, the other thing that I wanted to mention that you brought up is the drying process of bubble hash to get you to the point of temple hash.
Yeah.
That is a very good tip of using the pizza box because the pizza box thickness is just right to help wick out moisture.
The cardboard itself,
Wick out moisture, but protect it from outside moisture coming in into the box as well. And the structure of pizza boxes tend to be sturdy enough that you don't have to worry about it kind of collapsing.
Oh yeah.
The other thing that I did want to mention in that process of using, even if you were using a freeze dryer, is once you get to that point of you're ready to have it dried, is as you said in that pizza box is making sure that you have an even layer.
Yes, yes.
Because if you have
That's crucial.
yeah, because if you have like big chunks here, little
Yeah.
chunks there, it's not going to dry evenly, and you're really setting yourself up for the potential of mold.
Mold. We don't want mold.
Mold, fungus, you don't want you don't want that. So
that.
because then you do have to, it's a wrap.
But on the reverse of that, you don't want to dry it too fast because then that will deplete the cannabinoids and terpenes.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
then
I mean,
basically you
it's
just have sand.
yeah, yeah, for real, yeah.
So that is again as Absol is a rapper that I listen to a lot.
yeah.
States life's about balance.
Sure is.
And so everything in that resolves around balance. It looks like we are getting we got into the weeds and to the deep conversations. But I do
Yeah.
want to ask you, what are some of the things that you're seeing that are moving the hash game into the future, and that you want to be that you see as the forefront?
I kind of see it. I've always looked at hash as like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. So I think going into the future, we just need to educate the younger people about it and get them on it, because the old timers, they know and they're happy to see it in the market and they're grabbing it up. But innovative wise, I mean, it's thousands of years old. Like we said, there ain't much we can innovate to it. We're just sticking with what works, you know?
No, I agree. Now, what I will say is the place that I see potential innovation is the method of consumption of Temple Bar
Oh,
hashes.
most definitely. On that note, my preferred method is a two-hole hash pipe. It doesn't have holes in the bottom; they're at the top. And so basically, it's hot knifing. I don't know if any of y'all ever hot knifed on the stove back in the. I don't know if you're that
no,
old,
no, no.
but we used to take butter knives to the stove and heat them up and put our little hash ball on there and press the
Ah.
knives together. So these
I've seen that, but I've never done it.
these come with a glass banger, a glass rod that you could heat up. I myself, I use an electric soldering iron, and that works cherry. You could tune it in, and you just dab at it, boop, boop, boop. So anybody who likes dabbing, you know, it's similar. But the aspect of hash that I think a lot of old timers don't like is the torches. So my other way I like to smoke it is put a little bit on a butter knife, heat it up a little bit, and then spread it across a rolling paper. And then I roll my joints like that. That's a European thing that I saw, and I really enjoy doing it that way. But as you mentioned, I mean, there's numerous ways you could smoke hash.
Yeah, no, I think I think that's where we're gonna see a lot of evolution, and
Yeah.
is I think we're gonna end up seeing pipes similar to that, but with an electric heat
Yeah,
component on
yeah,
it,
there you
so
go,
that
yeah.
you can just drop the hash on there. They do
Yeah.
have I think it's called the Quartar. It's like Qatar,
Qatar, yeah.
which is it's kind of like it looks like a hookah pipe
Like a shisha bowl.
or a shisha bowl, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And but on the top of it, it has this like heating component where you put the hash inside, you put that on top, kind of closes it,
Yeah.
and it heats it up to the proper temperature. To I saw a Frenchie use it when he was in Morocco.
Oh, wow.
On a video, not in person. I wish I was
Yeah,
there.
right, yeah.
But and I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
So I think that's where some innovation can be headed in the way we consume it.
Because for those who don't know, real quick, I'm sorry, it's
yeah.
not something that you do like rosin. A lot of hash, like the stuff I do, is almost full spectrum, full melt, you know. So you can. Everybody asks me, have you ever tried that in a rig? I'm like, you probably could, but it's not considered technically 100% full melt, so
Yeah.
it's not the same. You don't use it with your dabbing devices.
Yeah. That is a good point to bring up as well. The other aspect of that you can use that I have is taking your temple ball and taking small little pieces, like rolling them up, like literally
Mouse turds, I call
yeah,
them.
there you go. Yeah, the mouse turd,
Yeah.
like the head of a pencil or a pen, and then sprinkling that in a joint or a blunt.
Oh, yeah.
Or using snakes, really, really thin, roll them into thin snakes, and you put that in the blunt. and
Little
then
hash holes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or hash holes. Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
And it will. The key with that is it cannot be too thick. If it's too thick, either in the bowl or the snake,
You're
it's
left
going-
with like a wick.
yeah,
sticking
exactly.
out.
It's gonna end up smearing all over the blunt or the joint, and it's not gonna be able to stay lit. So keep that in mind. Small, and I tell people when I was because I was selling them when I was in California. and making them there as well. I would tell everybody that bought them from me, especially the ones that didn't know about it. I'd be like, hey, think of it this way: it's a blunt enhancer. Just put a little bit of balls or a little snake in there to enhance it, and it also helps slow down the burning process.
Yeah, and a little goes a long way.
A very long way. So it's because again, it's potent. It's a lot more potent than flour, so you can't use it as if you would use flour. Use it as more like dabs, keeping that or concentrate, putting that kind of percentage in whatever you're going to be using.
Yeah.
Man, we've talked about a lot, and we can talk
yeah.
about so much
Oh,
more.
I know.
But I have to get you on for a part two.
Yes, sir.
And to get into a deep more run about that.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I just want to get real quick any advice that you have to any aspiring hash makers out there, specifically we're here in New Mexico, that are trying to get into the space in a already very saturated market. But my suggestion that I always give to them people is get a niche, have a space where there's not a lot of people in the space, and then know that niche better than anybody else. But what are some of the inspiring things that you would say to hash makers that are trying to be like you?
Number one, come with quality. That's it, really.
Quality in,
Come
quality
with
out.
come with quality. Don't be put. There's enough garbage out there. Just come with quality. Stand above the rest.
Awesome. And we always end with two questions to all of our guests.
Okay.
And the first question is, if you were a cultivar, what would that cultivar be, and what would the effects be?
I, a GMO probably.
There you go.
I like GMOs. I'm a fan of garlic. GMOs are amazing washers. They make great hash. Yeah, I've just always been a fan of the garlic, mushroom, and onions for the people
Yeah,
that
for
don't
people
know.
that don't know.
Because a lot of people, that GMO and a lot of strains play on it, like Tromp Santo, play on Monsanto.
Yeah, but
because
yeah.
the GMO. But no, it's garlic, mushroom, and onions. Feel safe.
Thank you.
It's all
Yes.
good.
Yes. Because, a lot of people don't know what that's
Yeah,
for. And don't quote me, but I believe that strain came from Northern California, specifically the San Jose area, because they are known for their garlics. They have a lot of garlic farms out there.
Yeah.
But that's anecdotal evidence. I don't.
It
have,
would make sense if it's true.
Yeah.
Because them terps you get are straight up. You smell the garlic in
Yeah.
it.
So that's what I was told. Again, I didn't do the research to validate it. So hey, in the comments, let us know.
Yeah, if you know, let us know.
And so let me give you my cultivar real quick. Mine would be jet fuel.
Okay.
And the reason why I say jet fuel, I haven't had it in a while, but I do remember that gassiness of it.
Oh yeah,
and
diesel.
Yeah, and that I wouldn't say I'm the biggest gassy or diesel fan. I'm not against it, but every now and then it's always good to get a nice gassy diesel.
It takes you back.
Yeah.
And sense or smell is the strongest sense tied to memory.
Yep.
So I mean, it literally takes you back.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so that is the cultivar that I would say that I'm feeling today. And then
Nice.
our second question that we always end with is, what does free the plant, free the people mean to you?
Wow. First of all, power to the people.
That's right.
That's what we need. I mean, it's a plant, it's a medicine, and there's no reason why it should be criminalized the way it is. The people who've been locked up for it, I mean, it's ridiculous in the first place. But, I just wish they would not be so scared of it. It's because they can't control it yet. Rescheduling, that's a whole nother show for you guys.
Yeah, well, we'll have you back for that.
Yeah. But, it's a medicine, and the people deserve it, and let's free the people and free the plant.
I appreciate that, and we definitely agree with that. So let the people know how they can get in contact with you. Let them know how they can potentially purchase your products, or if they're looking for somebody to create hash from the cultivars that they're growing, how would they get in contact with you?
Okay, so Chilled Hydro Alchemy, again, is the name of the company. You can check out my Instagram. It's CHA505NM. That's typically where I do most of my business. I'm just real small dude, small business, but I do collabs with other farms. So if you want to try my hash, It'll be in dispos under other farms, but it'll be labeled as collabed with.
Okay.
And yeah, I also wash for personal grows, people's personal grows, if they would like your personal grow. So you could get a hold on me, Instagram, which I told you was the best way, or CHA505NM@gmail.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely tap in with them. Tap in with Ryan. Tap in with Chilled Hydro Alchemy. Give them a follow.
Yep.
Engage with them. If you have questions, feel free. He's a real approachable guy.
Yeah, just hit me up if you want to shoot the shit, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a real approachable guy.
Definitely.
For those cultivators out there, specifically in New Mexico, that have really good flower that they would like to convert it into hash, hit him up.
yeah.
You know,
Holla
he
at
has
your
the
boy.
ability to do that for you and provide you with high quality products. And like I said, he's good at what he does. He's always looking to learn more about the space.
Always
and what he's
looking to
doing.
learn, yeah.
So I'm just excited to see what is going to happen in the next 5 years with him and the hash that he's creating.
Thank you.
We got our own, New Mexico Frenchy cannoli. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
continue pushing that tradition of hash on, and we'll hear. And like I said, we definitely got to get you back on for another episode because there's so much more we can talk
So
about.
much.
And there's so much more that we have notes. And stuff
Oh,
that we
yeah,
wanna
I
get
know.
into in regards to hash. But again, thank you all for watching, listening. Give us a like, leave a comment. Definitely check out Ryan at Chilled Hydro Alchemy or CHA505NM. At gmail.com.
Instagram, Facebook, it's all
There.
All that.
So definitely check that out. Hit LeafWeld to get your discount on your medical cannabis card. And again, we're Free the Plant, Free the People, presented by BluRok Farm. I'm your host, LeVar Edie, and peace and blessings, everybody. We out.